Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Stephen here, Northwest Small Batch Brewing, and it is time for a weekly brew talk. It's going to be a short one because, I don't know when you'll be watching this. It could be, a year from now, but as of the time of the recording of this video, we are in a huge heat wave here in the Pacific Northwest, and it is very hot. And I don't have air conditioning in this main part of my house, so we're going to keep this short and sweet. I want to talk about the Siphon, AutoSiphon, etc. So let's go back in time, shall we? Used to be, in order to move your beer from, one fermenter, maybe you want to rack it off of the yeast if you're going to age it. Maybe you just want to move it from your fermenter into a keg. You basically had to siphon, which means that the keg or whatever your beer was in, your fermenter, had to be higher than your vessel that you're going to siphon into, thus using gravity to move the beer. The main reason for that is because you don't want to introduce oxygen. And if you just pour it, you're going to splash and create a significant amount of oxygen. So at least the siphon helps minimize that. But back in the day, you just had this rubber tube for a siphon. And so there was a couple of problems. The main one being, how do you start to siphon it? You could put the tube in the beer and it'll just sit there. It won't do anything, right? You have to get the flow started. Some people did the nasty and they just sucked on the other end of this, of it until they could get it to start. It's kind of gross. There's germs and, it's just the idea of it's kind of gross, right? You don't want to drink beer out of someone's been sucking, a tube in their mouth, and it's gross. And anyway, so there was another way to start a siphon that some people would do, which I think equally was difficult, which was you would basically fill your siphon with sterile water. I don't know that you'd want to use sanitizer. Back in the day, we didn't really use Star Sand anyway, so you'd have like a diluted bleach instead. That's what we used to use. But if you used boiled water, right, sterilized water, the idea being if the siphon was already full and had liquid in it, you could get it to start siphoning that way. But you're still looking at contaminating some of the beer. You'd have to let it start flowing, clamp it, get rid of what came out, and then continue the flow. Or you'd have to, and you're always going to risk having some of that water go back into the beer on the other end. So there was that risk of contamination as well. So siphons never worked all that well. I mean, they worked, but getting them started, I think, was the big concern. The other concern is even with the siphon, you still have oxygen being introduced because there's oxygen inside the siphon itself, and it's basically pulling in air. That's how it works. So creates a difference in pressure. Anyway, it is probably the most minimal way at that time, to not have oxygen introduced into your beer, but it still was not a perfect, situation. So I refer to those as the manual siphon, meaning it was literally just a tube. All right. So then they came out with something a little bit newer, and you may have seen these and not really know what they were for. So back then, of course, if you guys have been around as long as I have, we had carboys, glass carboys. You didn't have, and then you went to plastic carboys eventually, but you didn't have the modern day fermenters that we do now, at least not at the homebrew level. So they came up with these special rubber caps that would fit over the top of the mouth for like a 5-gallon, like demijohn, like a fermenter carboys. And they had 2 different little connections on those little stoppers. And the whole point of that was, again, this is kind of gross, but you hook up your siphon to one of them on one side, and the other hole is the one you use to start the siphon. You'd blow into it. It would create basically a vacuum. Now, that's better, I think, than just sucking on the end of the siphon hose, but you're still blowing into your fermenter, and you're still putting your germs and adding, oxygen into the fermenter. So that's not necessarily the best situation. So then they came out with the AutoSiphon. this guy. I don't know if I can really get this all on camera. This particular one's called the Easy Siphon, I think, or something like that. They come in different sizes. This one's good for like the larger 5-gallon batches, but the nice thing is that they do have these caps on the bottom, so they help that not pick up the tube at the bottom of your beer. And they basically work by creating a siphon inside the tube, or a vacuum inside the tube, and that starts your siphon. So you're not you're not blowing into anything, right? So that helps with that. Although when you start to pump it, that is adding oxygen to the beer. So again, you still have this problem with oxygen still getting into it. Not as much as like splashing it, but you're still getting some oxygen. Some people get around that by putting a little bit of sterile water in between the outer and inner tubes of this AutoSiphon, and that can. But you know, again, you risk having that water get into your beer. So it's better, but it's not great. So, and I have this hate, I would say love-hate, but I don't really have a lot of love for this AutoSiphon. I have a lot of hate for it. It's hard to clean. The tube has to come apart and have to be cleaned somehow. I mean, you can buy new tubing for it, but it's just a hassle. It's a hassle to clean, a hassle to use. And what I've found is there's two great alternatives. The first alternative to using the AutoSiphon is to get a fermenter that has a spigot. You know, you can get a metal, stainless steel one, but you could also just get a bucket fermenter. Like you could build your own bucket fermenter out of like Home Depot parts. And as long as there's a spigot on it, you can just attach the tube to the spigot. You can even attach a bottling wand to the spigot, which I've done for filling up bottles. That works. And then you're just using gravity, right? You just open the spigot, make sure the tube goes all the way down to the bottom of your next vessel so you're not splashing. And then you're just doing a, gravity feed. Yes, oxygen still is present, but I think it's better than the siphon, and it's certainly easier to deal with and clean up than a siphon. That's my first recommendation. Second recommendation is if you can get a pressure-rated fermenter. Now, you don't even necessarily need a pressure-rated fermenter. A lot of times, most fermenters, especially like even the Anvil buckets, you can seal them tight enough to get at least like a couple psi, and that's really all you need in order to push with CO2 the beer from that fermenter into another container, if that's what you're doing, or into a corny keg. You go really, really crazy, and some people are really crazy about not wanting oxygen, and they will actually fill like several corny kegs with sanitizer, push the sanitizer out with CO2 so you have a fully like CO2 filled corny keg, and then use that to push. Anyway, they basically create a daisy chain to really try to limit any oxygen. They try to push oxygen through it so there's no oxygen in your lines or anything. I think that's probably a little overkill for a homebrew level, personally speaking. It's homebrew. What did Papazian always say? Relax, man. Have a freaking homebrew. Just chill out. I mean, I think that's the honest truth. Is like, if you want to have fun with a hobby, you gotta just take it a little bit easy, take it a step back, and be a little less than scientific about it. But whatever works for you and you enjoy doing, you should do. But that is my feeling, is that there are ways to get away from the AutoSiphon, even if you don't have a pressure fermented vessel, and then you don't have to deal with cleaning and messing around with a siphon at all. So that's today's Brew Talk. I'll be back in another week with another video, and until then, keep on brewing.